Hello everyone, welcome to another weekly outlook video. For those people who are new, welcome to the community. Subscribe to this channel. We normally do weekly outlooks every Sunday and we focus majorly on major pairs, gold and NAS 100. So we're going to start with the US dollar index. So US dollar index is literally the US dollar. So, and we're going to do our analysis from the weekly time frame. And if you look at this chart right now where price is, of course, on the weekly time frame, you can see price created this new dealing range on the weekly time frame. And once we had this new dealing range created by price, you can see so far price has retraced to the discount of this range. And if we take the whole range from this low to that high, you can see clearly 50% of the range is where we have this fair value gap. So this fair value gap here is our discount array. Now, if this market is still bullish, because you can clearly see we had all this bullish momentum, and we are targeting this buy side liquidity here. This is our draw of liquidity if the market is bullish. And because price has tagged already a weekly discount array, which in this case is a fair value gap, I'm anticipating that we are likely to see a bullish momentum from here. So I need this fair value gap to act as support and push price higher. So if you're watching me for the first time, I will put a link. Go watch this video. That was last week's video because I give a deep detail on how we came about this bullish idea and why we anticipate price to go bullish. So let's look at the daily time frame. If you look at the daily time frame, you can clearly see on the daily time frame we also have a daily fair value gap here, and there's a gap here that was not filled by price, and you can see that's what price did last week. Price completely filled this gap, and after filling that gap on Friday, you can see we had all these rejection. So this is good. This is what we want to see. So we want to see price continue going higher. So for next week, I want to see price invert this fair value gap here. Once you invert this fair value gap, that is the best confirmation, and that will be enough confirmation that this market is ready to continue going higher. So let's look at USDCHF. So USDCHF and dollar index are positively correlated. So if you want to see a bullish dollar, you also want to see a bullish USDCHF. And this is the weekly time frame. Again, USDCHF, you can see we've had this retracement and price has tagged this gap here. This is our volume imbalance. So if we anticipate a bullish dollar, so we also want to see the same thing for USDCHF. So let's look at the daily time frame. On the daily time frame, again, you can see we had all this bearish momentum on Friday, price sweeping these lows, and then all this move. So USDCHF, we want to see price invert this fair value gap. Once price inverts this fair value gap, that's enough confirmation of the bullish momentum. So let's look at EURUSD. So EURUSD and dollar index are negatively correlated, so you want to see the opposite. Now, again, this is the weekly time frame. You can see we had all this bearish momentum, price creating a market structure shift here, and so far we've had this fair value gap, and we've been looking at this fair value gap for the past 2 weeks, 3 weeks. We wanted to see price come here, and finally you can see price has gotten to this fair value gap. Now, if you're going to see a bullish dollar, then we want to see a bearish EURUSD. In that case, that means this should be used to push price lower. If price inverts this EURUSD weekly fair value gap, and we also invert the dollar index one, then of course in that case that means there's a high probability our bias is not going to hold, and we might have to reconsider and redo our analysis to see exactly what price is telling us. So let's look at the daily time frame. If you look at the daily time frame again, you can see this is what we had. Price has already swept this high. This is relative equal highs, you can see, and so far this is what we have. Again, the same thing. For us to get that bearish momentum, we will want to see price invert bearish PTRs. That's what we want to see for the bearish momentum. So let's look at GBPUSD. So GBPUSD and EURUSD are positively correlated. So it's the same thing really. If you look at the daily time frame, we'll start our analysis here. You can see price swept that high, and so far this is what we have. So for bearish momentum, we want to see price invert this daily fair value gap, and then will be used to push price lower. So let's look at gold. So gold is in a very critical level, and this is the weekly time frame. So far we have this weekly fair value gap, and just like we did analysis last week, The only time I'm bullish on gold, once price inverts this weekly fair value gap, then at that point I'm bullish on gold. But as long as we're here, I still see a possibility of actually gold giving us a bearish momentum. So let's look at the daily time frame. So if you look at the daily time frame for a bullish gold, then gold will use this fair value gap to push price higher. And you can see clearly price is another daily fair value gap here, which has already been tagged by price. The moment these get inverted, then at that point, expect more bullish momentum for gold. So that is for bullish momentum. If you're going to see bearish moves for gold, then of course this is what you'll see. You'll see price will invert this fair value gap. Then at that point, that's enough confirmation that gold is ready to give us more bearish momentum, because clearly you all can see price is literally inside a weekly fair value gap. So let's look at NAS 100. If you look at NAS 100 on the weekly time frame, you can clearly see last week really strong bullish candle. We even closed above all these outside liquidity here. So of course, coming this week, there's a high probability we are likely to see more bullish continuation move for NAS 100. So let's look at the daily time frame. On the daily time frame, you can clearly see there's a lot of fair value gaps here. We have a lot of consecutive fair value gaps now. So for the bullish momentum, it would be nice if we see price actually retrace, tag this, and then we see more bullish momentum, or use this to push price higher. So that is all I prepared for this weekly outlook video. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And if you have not subscribed to this channel, please hit that subscribe button. I'll see you in the next one.